Play is one of their needs, by the way. Play with your kids, connect with them. I think it's more mean to allow your kids to be rude because people don't like rude kids. They find them annoying. I would have been embarrassed to go around and people dread seeing my kids.
What kind of behavior do you see from kids when you're connected?
By 3, they'll want to please you. Not in an obedient way, but they feel like you enjoy them. You can tell when a child knows you enjoy their company. Their self-esteem is different. They get very confident. They tend to let go easier because you fill their cup up. You have to be accountable too. If there's no boundaries or rules or structure in the household, they don't feel as safe and secure, and therefore the connection is at risk. Welcome to the Bratbusters Parenting Podcast. My name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother.
And I'm Amy Bunnage, Lisa's daughter, and I handle the marketing and planning here at Bratbusters. While I don't have kids, each episode will dive into parenting topics and Lisa will answer your questions. Let's get started.
Hi, just so you know, we had a flub. My daughter completely messed up with the microphones. Okay, it was me. Anyway, so we used the computer microphone for this episode instead of the freestanding fancier mic, which I'm using now, because someone hadn't plugged it incorrectly. So anyway, it was me. Okay, so sorry about that. The quality won't be quite as good, but we liked the episode, so we're keeping it in. Okay, sweetie, what is today's topic?
So today's topic is meeting kids' needs and managing their wants.
Oh, that's good. It's a very broad, general topic, so a lot of stuff could come out. Meet their needs and manage their wants. I'm going to write that down because near the end, I always forget what the topic was. Meet needs, manage wants. And parents get mixed up what needs are and what wants are. That's what we'll clarify.
So what do you mean by this saying?
Okay, meet their needs and manage their wants. Their needs are food, clothing, shelter, health, love, play. Play is one of their needs, by the way. Play with your kids, connect with them. They need that for healthy emotional development. They need to be connected. They need to feel like they're enjoyed. So anyway, those are the needs. And the wants are candy at the checkout aisle, a toy, an extra toy. Those are all the wants. That's the stuff that you manage. Okay, that's where the discipline usually comes in. So the needs are pretty basic, aside from parents don't often realize that play is a need.
That is something that you talk about a lot.
Oh, I do. You're not playing with your kids. They're missing out. So are you, by the way.
Now, what age are you starting to meet their needs and manage their wants?
Age 0? What do you mean? Oh, not their wants. No, all of their babies, everything is needs. It's only when they start to turn about maybe 1.5, it gets more into the wants. That's when the discipline starts, by the way. It's 16 months is when the discipline starts. So that's when it's more. Before that, it's just needs, basically.
Okay. Now, what would be your response? Because this is something I do see pop up a bit, is when parents feel mean for managing the wants.
Well, I think it's more mean to allow your kids to be rude because people don't like rude kids. They find them annoying. I would have been embarrassed to go around and people dread seeing my kids. Like I would have been humiliated if I turned up at school and the teacher rolled her eyes. That's what you're doing. Is that mean to allow your kids to be pushy and spoiled and disrespectful to people? So discipline teaches them how to treat people with respect. So I think it's mean to allow them to go out into the world and people run when they see them coming. So I think that's meaner.
And what are your thoughts on spoiling kids?
You know your child is spoiled if they ask you to buy them a treat. By the way, it's only a treat if it's a surprise and you offer it. If they ask you to fill a demand, basically, they want a chocolate bar or a toy every time you go out shopping, and they have a tantrum when you say no, then you know they're spoiled. That's the test for that. You know they're spoiled. Are you doing them any favor? No. You're setting them up to be unliked. You're setting them up to cause a scene. And also, it's not good for them. It's not good for them to get everything that I want that, I want that. It's just you're doing them such a disservice in life. So that's spoiling. If they have a tantrum because you said no to the chocolate bar at the checkout, they're spoiled.
We've talked about this, I think, in a previous episode, but it does, I remember, I just don't think that would feel good as a kid to get that too.
If you did, if you knew, if you'd ever asked for something at a store, because I always said, if you ask, you get nothing. Because when we're out grocery shopping, it's not I just wouldn't let them ask for treats. Do you know what I'm saying? But every so often I'd get them one. A treat is a surprise. But if they'd asked, I would have said, well, then now I'd be feeling a demand. It's not a treat. It's me filling a demand. So they never asked. We were at the checkout.
I think that's a good clarification because I've seen some parents be like, how cruel, the kids never got a treat. It's like, no, we did. It's just, it was not because we asked for it.
It was a surprise, and it wasn't that often. They don't need sugar every day. They don't need that garbage. So yeah, they did get treats, but it was my instigation. And then someone said, oh, you mean if they were good? Do you want to answer that?
My mom did not reward us for being good.
They were good. Like, I would have to give them treats every day, all day. They were already good kids. They were respectful. I earned that. I worked for that. I was a leader. So yeah, if I was to reward my kids for being good, it'd be ridiculous. And I don't reward for what I consider baseline normal behavior, is be respectful. When I say good, they weren't goody two-shoes. They weren't perfect, but they were very respectful. Like, they never said, I hate you or anything, and nothing like that ever. So, yeah.
We messed up, like we're normal kids, but like, I just feel like you would never, well, that's your idea of why you don't do reward charts.
Never, because then you're if you do rewards for being good, could you imagine if your partner said to you, you were so good today, I think I'm going to buy you some chocolate or something. Well, what the heck was I yesterday? It's an insult almost. Like, as if it's unusual. I don't reward what I consider normal behavior. To me, normal is nice, respectful. I just consider that normal. I don't treat it like, whoa, oh my God, you were actually good today. What an insult. What a patronizing thing to say to someone.
Okay, should we get into the questions?
Sure.
Okay, so the first one is Miriam from Wales. I have an 18-month-old and a 3-month-old. I know you say meet their needs and manage their wants, but how does this work in situations where you are physically unable to meet their needs? I was in this situation a lot when pregnant while having a toddler. For example, my toddler will get woken up early from a nap and be in a bad mood for the rest of the day. This means that she'll tantrum constantly over tiny things. My strategy is to not compromise over whatever object she's tantruming over, but to redirect. Pick her up and feed her snacks, etc. I never know how strict to be because I know she's doing it because she's tired. By the way, she used to tantrum a lot even when all her needs were met, but that has reduced loads since following your advice.
Tantrums don't have much to do with anything other than they just sometimes let it fly. So that's why it's important never to reward it. Attention is tantrum food. You're rewarding it. So just ignore it. Plus, you said, what did she first say? What was the first sentence there?
I know you say to meet their needs and manage their wants, but how does this work in situations where you're physically unable to meet?
Stop. You can't always do that. If they're hungry and you're busy nursing a sick baby or your baby's throwing up, you can't go feed the 18-month-old. You can't always do that. It's a prioritizing kind of thing. You've got 2 little ones, okay? Sometimes one is going to have to go without. The baby might have to scream for a little bit while you're helping the 18-month-old or changing their diaper. So you can't always be like, bang, 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 I'm going to meet their needs every moment. They're just going to have to wait and suffer a little bit. Not suffer, but you know what I mean? They're going to have to wait. So yeah, you can't always do that. You can't always do that anyway. If you're in a car and your kid is tired and hungry and you're driving and you're stuck in traffic, what are you going to do? As best you can, meet their needs and manage their wants. But sometimes you're stuck in traffic with a screaming, hungry toddler. What are you going to do? It's just part of life. Life gets in the way, especially when you got a little one too. You got a little 3-month-old and an 18-month-old. You're right in the thick of it. You're right in the thick of the physically demanding time. Really physically demanding. Toddlers are the most physically demanding. Teenagers are the most emotionally demanding.
Sounds like you got your hands full.
Yeah, but that's part of having kids close together. So it's just part of it. I've got clients who have multiple kids under 4. Like, I won't say how many one client has, but you know what's interesting is they've got a lot of older kids too. So a lot of my clients have huge families, and we talk about the older kids. We never even mention the little ones because they say, yeah, they're just nuts. They say, yeah, we're just going through it. Like, they just realize, they say it's like a roller coaster. You just got to ride it out till it calms down. So, but yeah, we're not even discussing the little ones, the toddlers. We're just discussing the older kids. So yeah, it's just physically demanding. That's all. But okay, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Some of that might help. Where is it? Okay, here it is. This is the discovery age I call it 16 to 35 months. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Makes your life easier. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. They still might be bored, but they're less likely to be because you're rotating the toys all the time, but once a week. Number 3, connect with toddlers in their world, not your world. You don't take them to the nail salon with you. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They do look at you differently. Yeah, and 4 is very similar. You discipline toddlers in their world. They're not about words. They're about actions. So you use consistent corrective actions whenever you want to discipline a 16 to 35 months old. You can't use the behavior board yet. But yeah, they're going to do what they're going to do. It takes lots and lots of repetition for them to finally learn, because they learn more through a knee-jerk reaction kind of thing. They're not really thinking it through. They're not reasoning, really. But it's like a toddler, like an 18-month-old might go by and touch a hot stove 10 times, or a hot oven, right? Not to burn themselves, but it's uncomfortable, right? So they might go by and they might touch it 10 times. Then they go by and then they go up to it the 11th, they might not touch it. They're not doing a lot of thinking. It's more just something in their brain says, So that's how they learn. That's why it takes repetition. Okay, and number 5 is they're just toddlers. Stop trying to figure them out. They're just insane. Well, I always call them insane. It's just they haven't developed sanity yet. They're just forming. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years. In the first year, you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like how much, what's the word? What's that word? How much, I always forget that word. They have no history, no context. Thank you. I can never remember that word. They have no context of who they are, who you are, what the car means, they have no context. They have no experience with life yet. So they're just going to do things that appear crazy. To them, I was going to say it seems normal to them. They don't know what normal is yet. They're just forming. Okay, that's my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. And also, childproof your home so you never have to say no was number 1. A lot of parents don't want to do that. I come up against this a lot. Oh no, we want them to learn not to touch stuff. So you want me to help you make your life easier, but you don't want to childproof. Well, that's one of the first things you can do, is if you never have to chase them around the house, keeping them out of things. And also, I had a friend years and years ago, her little kid and he was a really easy little boy, but she wasn't into childproofing. He got a big tub of Vaseline. And she had turned her back. She was doing something in the kitchen, and that Vaseline ended up all over their furniture, all over their carpet, all over everything. Their stereo, back in the days when we had stereos, everywhere. The walls, Vaseline everywhere. Anyway, good little kid, but she didn't believe in childproofing. Funny thing is, she did do it after that. So, why would you put yourself through that? I had another friend who said, he was brushing his teeth with the toilet brush again. I keep telling him not to do it. He's like 1.5. You keep telling him not to. He doesn't understand germs, poopy toilet brushes. He just doesn't get it, right? So yeah, I'm all for childproofing. The interesting thing is my kids didn't get into stuff because we didn't have anything to get into, but they weren't used to being precocious and getting into things. So when we went to other people's houses, they were the least likely to get into stuff at other people's houses, which is interesting. So they just sort of knew boundaries. Well, the cupboards aren't for us, and the toilet brush certainly isn't for us. That door was shut. Actually, in Australia, what?
I'm just thinking, in our little heads, we're probably like, cupboards just don't even open.
Well, you didn't see me open them. But also, in Australia, the door handles were higher. That's where I raised my kids. Whereas here in North America, they're lower, but the lights were low. So kids couldn't get into doors over there, but they could flicker lights like you wouldn't believe. It's just interesting. Yeah, the door handles were all way higher over there, and the ceilings were lower. It's interesting. Just a few differences, Australia and North America.
Anyway. Like a little rave in there.
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, with the lights flickering back and forth. And I'd say, no, don't touch the light. And they'd laugh.
Can't childproof this.
Yeah. Bust that. Good luck, mother. Okay.
Okay, the next question is Heather from the United States. What to do when your 20-month-old calls everything mine?
Oh, just ignore it. Like, why would you answer that? Mine. They're just trying to reel you in. Just if they're holding something, I don't know what the context is for that. Is that the same word that we just came up with that I always forget?
The context was the word.
And I just remembered it again. Wow. I'm so clever. I thought, was that the word? It almost sounds weird to me. I
would give you a gold star, but you don't believe in reward charts.
I don't believe in reward charts. Okay, but I will want something after this. Okay. Anyway, what was I talking about? I forgot.
Mine.
Yeah. So if I don't understand the context. Like what I mean is, are they just pointing to things and saying mine, or are they holding something that you want them to give to you and they say mine? I'll assume that's it. So you say, okay, please give me the remote control. And they go, mine. Just take it. Say no, and then take it. Take action. They're not about words. This is a 20-month-old. They're just testing you. Don't give them that power with words. Like, don't allow that to become important. Mine, 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 mine. Just ignore it. Say, no, it's not. It's mine. And take it. Like, just take it.
Is that teaching them that they can grab things off of you?
They don't tend to. No, because they really understand it isn't theirs. That's the thing, is they just get it. Usually.
Okay. Next question. So Neve from the United States. Daughter is 17 months old. I'm a stay-at-home mom since birth. I've begun using some leadership parenting techniques and have yet to see a tantrum thus far. I do think I'm becoming the leader parent. I'm very intentional with connection, but also put all distractions away and focus on her for most of the day. My husband, however, lacks self-awareness and doesn't notice when she's trying to connect. He can also be on his phone or computer and is completely zoned out. My daughter has began to prefer me, sobs at bedtime with him, and also will come looking for me at any time I step away. I can't get a pee break without her knocking on the bathroom door. She never wants him to do anything for her, and she only really gives in when I'm not around, which is very rare. Is this what leadership parenting feels like, being the favorite and preferred parent? How do we teach her to not prefer one of us over the other? I worry this could cause resentment.
That's not really leadership parenting. That's a different thing. I could go in a lot of different directions with that. But there was a few things. There's so many different things I wanted to address in that. Now I've forgotten them all. But basically, if he's not willing to spend time with her, of course she's not going to want him. And just because you're preferred doesn't always mean you're the leader, but you do become the go-to. You might be the one that gives in more. I don't know. You might just be the one who plays more. But what I would do is I would leave the house more. Just go out in the backyard or go for a walk so that he has to give her a bath. And so like my ex-husband, I was the leader for sure. And I was the one who was a stay-at-home mom. So of course the kids are going to be drawn to the one who they spend the most time with. That's generally the way it goes. But anyway, I remember once he was giving them a bath and one of them said, I want mommy. And I yelled out from the family room because you've got to support that other parent, right? So I yelled out, well, you're stuck with dad, so deal with it. And they knew when moms talk like that, don't argue. So they just knew. And then I heard him another night, they said it again. And he said, well, you're stuck with me, so deal with it. And then they had a great time. So I supported the fact that he was close to them too, but they're going to prefer usually the one that they see the most and the one that plays with them the most. It's just because he was working and I was staying home, right? So yeah, but I really pushed dad when he was home, and I didn't allow them to take, like I would never go in and say, okay, I'll do it. No, it would not have happened. If dad was home, that was his time. And they knew, and they just knew. I said, dad's home. You go see dad. You've seen me all day. You go see dad. They just learned. You back me up with this?
That feels accurate.
Yeah, dad's home. You know what? I didn't change one diaper when he was home. When he was home, that was his thing. I said, because I was home, the majority of the time with them. And so when he was home, they were his kids and he loved it. So your husband just hasn't connected yet, I'm assuming.
I think also like we did things with dad that we didn't do with you. So it was
he was the treat master. And I did hold back in some ways because I thought I got to give him something to do with it. You know what I mean? Like I could have taken them out for donuts and that, but I knew, well, I didn't want to do it anyway because I don't like that stuff. But I could have,
I wouldn't have, but
I wouldn't have, but I could have. But anyway, I wanted that to be his thing. I was always sort of building him up, like that's daddy. He's home now. So you're his kids now, because I was with them all day. So it's not that I was trying to get away from them. That was just the bonus, but anyway, it wasn't that. It was that was dad's time. So if they'd said, we want mom, I would have said, so dad's home. So it's your job too, to support the other parent. And he's not getting close potentially because you're in there saving the day, potentially. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Yeah, just generally, that's what you've seen sometimes with parents.
What do you mean?
Well, because you said you're not sure, but you're just giving a general idea.
Well, I'm giving advice based on the question and my interpretation of it. And plus, if I get it wrong, there's still maybe something in there that might help anyway. But yeah, support your husband. Say, well, no, daddy's doing it. And then go out and do something. Don't be available.
Okay.
Like when dad was home, what was I busy doing? You know exactly what I was busy doing.
Cleaning.
I love cleaning. So as soon as Dad came in, I'd get out the mop and they were dead.
I was just about to say, when Dad was home, we weren't allowed to go walk on the floor because they were always wet. Your little footprints.
Well, they knew. It was really cute from a really young age. And I mopped at least once a day, usually often twice or three times. Anyway, and I just love cleaning. So, but they were really little. And when I'd go and clean around the couch and they were sitting on the couch, they'd lift their feet. The cute part was their feet didn't even touch the ground. I guess they were just used to seeing their dad do it. So they'd put their feet up in the air. Oh, they were so cute.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember it being really balanced. Went out for tennis and we did all that stuff.
Well, Dad did all, that was the treat master. That's what we called him. He was the treat master. He did all those extra things and, that was his thing and they loved it. So, and then that also enabled him to connect. How's he going to connect if he's not out having fun with the kids? Right?
Okay.
And I said, you can be with Mom if you want. So in other words, you can help me with the laundry, help me mop the floor. Amazingly, they went and hung out with Dad. Amazingly. You don't want to scrub a toilet with Mom? Go hang out with Dad. Yeah, tempting.
Okay, we have Michelle from Australia. My 2-year-old son loves watering the garden, helping in the kitchen, and doing other fun activities with us. But he throws a tantrum when it's time to stop. Should we ignore the tantrum and continue what we're doing until he calms down?
That's kind of a tough one because are you consistent? Like, if you want him to help you do stuff, you have to let him help you every single time or not at all. He's only 2. He doesn't really understand why some days I can water the lawn and other days I can't. But you could have like a special sort of a signal. I'm just thinking you could have a special attachment on the hose just for him and then say, okay, all done. Then you can give him that attachment. He walks off with it. Like in other words, when that comes off, it's not yours anymore. So you can have sort of a symbolic change of hands or whatever for something. What are you laughing at?
No, I like the advice, but the symbolism behind it.
What do you mean?
Well, no, just the
passing of the torch.
Yeah.
But say, okay, it's all done, but be consistent. And if they argue, here's what could happen. Maybe sometimes they argue and you say, okay, one more minute. Disaster. Because you said, okay, all done. It's all done now. If it isn't, you just lied and they just won. And now you're in for it. They realize that you don't mean what you say and say what you mean. So you be very careful what you say. If you're not willing to follow through with what you say, don't say it. When I said something, my kids knew that was it. Tantrum, I could care less. When I said something, I followed through, but I was careful with what I said because I knew I was going to follow through. So it's okay to let them help. But this kind of reminds me of the supermarket tantrum stuff. I have a whole section of that in my boot camp course and on the toddler one. And it's the supermarket tantrums. I see this all the time. They'll let kids help and they'll sit up in always they should be sitting up in that thing. If you let them walk beside the cart sometimes, but not others, how unreasonable is that? They don't understand why sometimes they can walk beside it and touch stuff and other days you're in a rush. So they have to sit up there and you're rushing through. Also, I'll see this in the paper towel aisle and the moms will say, okay, here you go. Put it in the back. I never let my kids help with groceries because they don't understand why they can't help with the pickle jar. So they don't understand exceptions when they're toddlers. So yes, here's some paper towel to throw in the back, right? Big deal. Then they get to the pickle aisle and then the kids are all having tantrums in the pickle aisle and the parents can't put that together. Like they were throwing stuff in the last aisle. Now they can't touch anything. So you're inconsistent. You're training them to have a tantrum. It's kind of mean, actually. Sure, you can help. Now, it's kind of a tease. Sure, you can help with this, but not with that. They don't understand why. They can't reason that through.
Okay. Next question. So we have Lily from Australia. I have a 2.5-year-old who is a pretty well-behaved kid, but lately her whinging is getting worse. There's a lot of I want and demanding that we do things for her. We either ignore her requests until she asks nicely, or we tell her to try again. She is speaking in full sentences, so she is definitely capable of asking for things nicely. Is this the right approach to stamp out whinging at this age? Do you have any suggestions?
I'm sorry, what does she do? I didn't quite catch what she does. How do they manage the whinging?
We ignore the requests or until she asks nicely, or we tell her to try again.
It's okay. Okay, a whinging, by the way, I raised my kids in Australia. That's why I know what that is. It's whining. Anyway, and like daubing, if you daub someone in, it's tattling. There's a whole bunch of stuff in Australia that I had to learn because that's where I raised my kids. So anyway, so you've got a 2.5-year-old whiner. And what you say, it's an affectation. Whining is an affectation. It's like that vocal fry, when people talk like that. It's the same kind of thing. They get so used to doing it, they don't even always know they're doing it. So it's not bad behavior. It's a vocal affectation. So what you do, she's old enough. I would say, I'll tell you what, when you talk like this, when you talk like that, we will not be answering you. But if you talk nicely, we will answer you. And the answer may still be no. Okay, but we will answer you. Another thing too is because it's an affectation, it's not so much a behavior, is you say to her, when you do whine or whinge, when you do that, I will touch my nose or whatever, do some signal to let her know she's whining. You told her ahead of time, I will touch my nose whenever you whine, so you know to ask properly. Okay, so there's kind of a system there. She's 2.5. You said she's speaking in full sentences. She might be able to pick up on this. If she doesn't right away, she'll learn as you go. So that's what I would do. Everything with babies in Australia is different. A diaper is a nappy, a crib is a cot, a stroller is a pram. And when I moved back to Canada, I had a really hard time adjusting because I never raised kids over here. I raised them in Australia. So to this day, all my baby terms are Australian. I have a lot of clients in Australia. And I noticed a lot of the questions were from Australians too.
We did have quite a few today from there.
Yeah, I love Australia. I love Canada too. Oh, I love every country, but those are the two that we're citizens of. So
all the other countries are wonderful.
Oh, they're wonderful. I love them all. I got clients all over the world, and oh my God, you should see some of their homes. They're just fascinating. How their kitchens are set up differently, and like all this equipment I've never seen before. Yeah, no, I love it.
Like looking for the maple syrup in the background. You're like,
yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, but it's fascinating. And the way they dress, a lot of different religions too. I have to respect different cultures and different religions. So I feel very, very lucky that I get to learn all this stuff just through my clients. It's wonderful. And I get a real peek into their life, you see, because it's personal. Parenting coaching is personal. So, they tell me a lot of stuff, and so it's just fascinating. Very, very, very lucky.
Okay. Very grateful today. It's great.
I'm a grateful person, I'm a cheery person by nature. I'm very grateful.
I feel like you instilled that in us.
My kids are not complainers, for sure. And I was not allowed to. My mom hated complainers. You know what? I could never really complain with my mom because you could never beat her because she was raised during the Depression. So no matter what you said, she always had that, well, yes, I know that does sound rough, that whatever happened, you didn't get the right color scarf that you wanted or whatever it was, stupid thing I was complaining about. She'd say, because all we had to deal with was we didn't have heat or food. So, but yeah, I can imagine not getting the right color nail polish. Exactly. So that's what my mom would do to me all the time. She was born in 1922. She went through the Depression. They often didn't have heat or food. And so yeah, try complaining to that mother.
She just had to one-up you.
And she always could.
Okay, the next question is Kimberly from the United States. I have an infant and I was wondering if you have any suggestions on parenting techniques when they are that age. At that age, there really isn't any bad behavior, but how do we set ourselves up for success right from the beginning?
Okay. Infants, it's all medical. It just is. Even like with my granddaughter, she's 14 months old now. Everything is different. The way you put them to bed, there's no toys in with them. And, everything's so different. So it's mostly medical. Just go by what other people are telling you, professionals are telling you to do with an infant. But the one thing I did do, if you can, I always kind of hesitate to say this because I was able to do it and it was just my way. If a baby cries, I pick them up. I never let a baby cry. Now, I remember I had friends who used to say to me, gee, you're spoiling your babies. And I said, can't spoil them with love. Like I never cared what anyone said about my parenting. I was pretty confident. But yeah, I never let a baby cry. So that was a personal choice. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. But boy, I was connecting really early on because I didn't want them to cry. Sometimes it had to happen if I was out hanging up the laundry or something. And, like sometimes they would. But if I could, every time they cried, I picked them up. And they didn't cry much. I think because they knew they didn't have to. They knew they'd just go, and I'd go running over and pick them up.
Is that how I sounded? Just a little,
You didn't even do that. You were a very easy, quiet little thing. Her brother would have been more likely to go,
I tend to be a little bit more
chill, more. Yeah, he had tantrums. It's a temperament you're born with. She never had them. I never had them. But yeah, he had tantrums. He didn't have a lot of them. but he did have tantrums. He was very vocal. I often say he came out of the womb chatting. Well, hello there, mother. Nice to meet you. Like he just talked and talked and talked and talked all the time. You not so much. And I think because she couldn't get a word in edgewise because her brother and I were talking all the time because he was 5 when she was born. So her brother and I talked constantly. So she'd go, couldn't get a word in edgewise. But we look back at videos. I always remembered her as being very quiet and sweet. Look back at videos. Oh my God, she was so up herself and talking and talking and talking.
Nauseating.
So yeah, we were all like looking at the screen, like these home videos, like, what? She wasn't quiet. She found her voice by about 3. But before that, she didn't talk a lot because it was very hard to compete with her brother and I because we talked nonstop, laughing, goofing around all the time. So she would kind of like just enjoy the show. Then she wanted to get in on it. You can't see this because you're probably just listening to the podcast, but anyone who's watching this on YouTube, I'll kind of explain it. Her son and I used to laugh a lot, and like her brother and I, and we used to goof around a lot. Whenever she used to try and be funny. Her brother was just naturally funny. He just was. He was hilarious. So she would try and, make me laugh too, like he would. So whenever she'd try and be funny, she'd talk out of the side of her mouth like Popeye. Well, another thing. So it got to be a joke. Oh God, she's trying to be funny again.
I tried.
She did try. And then she's very witty now. But yeah, her brother definitely was the louder of the two.
He was just born funny.
He just was.
To this day, he's just funny.
Yeah, he knows how it just comes naturally.
Yeah.
And you're very witty, but it's not as obvious and loud. That's all.
It's forced.
No, it isn't. No, she's very witty. But yeah, no, he was just more loud and more obvious about it. That's all.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that I ever thought, wow, this kid's witty. I think I've told this story before, but I love this story. He was in grade 3, I think it was, or something really young. And, there was a new kid in school and my son came home. We'll call my son Johnny. I don't like to use his real name because he's not in the business, right? Keep it private. But anyway, so he said, I can't use my son's name being Johnny. We'll call him Tim. So anyway, he said there was this new kid in school and he goes, but he says his name really weird. His name is spelled John, but he says it Jean. And he was from South Africa. And I said, well, sweetie, I said, it's his name, so he can pronounce it any way he wants. So my son said, without skipping a beat, he said, okay, my name is Tim, but it's pronounced Braveheart. I thought, wow, it was fast. He didn't even think about it, just came out. So yeah, he was funny. He had me laughing all the time. So she could barely get a word in. We were so busy yabbering. So, but then she got pretty funny too. So
took time though.
It didn't come as naturally to her. I think and I often said she was born more, she thought everything through. She was a very cautious little girl. I think in a different household, she would have been more serious. But yeah, she didn't stand a chance in our household. We were pretty goofy, but I think your basic nature was more serious.
I think it's the nature versus nurture thing. I think I was nurtured
to be louder. You didn't have a chance. You were raised in such a goofy household. She didn't stand a chance.
But when I recharge, I definitely need alone time.
Yeah, like at the gym.
We've already discussed
She's miserable at the gym. I don't even like her when she's at the gym. She's so cranky. That's her alone. She says that's my concentration alone time. So her husband and I, we never go near her when she's at the gym. We all go to the same gym.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. So Amber from the United States, you say connection is more your thing other than discipline, so I would like to dive deeper into that. I'm a stay-at-home mom with a 2-year-old and I'm pregnant with our second. During the day, I constantly do my best to let him lead us in play, but it never feels like it's enough for him. When his dad or others are over, he is great at self-play. Does this mean I just don't fill his cup enough? How do you know you're doing a good job? I want to be the leader, and I definitely question if I'm doing enough. Maybe you could do a show with a list of traits that a leader has if you haven't already. I'm new here.
Okay, so that's a big question, actually. So he entertains himself when others are around. I think it's because he knows he doesn't stand a chance. I think he kind of manipulates you. He knows if he keeps asking for more, you're going to give in or look guilty. See, I wouldn't have. I did play hard with my kids, but then I would say, that's it. I'm going to go out and do the laundry, or I'm going to sit and read a book. And they knew when I said that, I was finished playing. So I think maybe you're kind of pulled in a little bit too much. That's why. Because when other people are around, they're all busy. They don't, you know what I'm saying? I think it's just the fact that he knows he can probably get you to play with him more. Now, connection. Oh God, where the heck would I start with that? How do you know when you're connected? How do you know when you're connected? Whew. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that.
Amber, you've stumped my mom.
Yeah. How do you know when you're connected?
What kind of behavior do you see from kids when you're connected?
Well, okay, we have to go like start at the age of 3. Okay, not 2 so much. They're more play hard with them. That's it. You'll get connected. They're easier. By 3, they'll want to please you, and not in an obedient way, but they feel like you enjoy them, and they want to please you. So those are 2 things. You can tell when a child knows you enjoy their company. You can just tell. Their self-esteem is different, and there's just this different level of connection when they feel like you're enjoying their company. They get very confident, and when it's over, they tend to let go easier because you fill their cup up, right? So, but yeah, under the age of 3, don't worry about that right now. Just play hard with them, and you will get connected. But also, discipline is a big part of it and you have to be accountable too. If there's no boundaries or rules or structure in the household, they don't feel as safe and secure, and therefore the connection is at risk. So I often tell this story. I don't know if I've ever told it anywhere, but in coaching, there's a lot of stuff I only say in coaching. The story about the grade 2 when the fire alarm went, did I mention that?
You've talked about this.
I've talked about that one. Yeah, that was bizarre. So why did all the kids run to me and not their moms, not the teacher? Why did all the kids run to me when the fire alarm went? I thought about that. When that happened, I was surprised too. But that was safety. They trusted that Lisa will know what to do. So that they didn't love me, of course, they love their parents, but that is also part of connection. They trusted me so much that they ran to me rather than the teacher or the parents, which I thought I didn't expect that. That's part of connection too. You want to look like you have the answers, like you do. When you say something, you say what you mean and mean what you say, and follow through and bring out the best in them. When you bring out the best in someone, they are connected with you. It's like, have you ever had a mentor, someone that you look up to? Don't you want to do well for that person? It could have been a coach, a grandparent, a teacher, someone that made you feel great about yourself, and you really wanted to do well for them. Didn't you feel connected to them? So it's not just about playing, it's about also bringing out the best in them.
Okay.
I just went silent because we had an alarm going by, a siren. Okay, I think that's enough about that one right now because, God, I could go off. There's so many different things you could do. But discipline is part of it. You meet their needs and manage their wants. If you allow children to walk all over you, they're going to feel less connected because they don't like themselves as much. They feel connected to someone who brings out the best in them.
Amber, I think you might also want to listen to episode 1 if you haven't already, because that's when I think, Mom, you go into the pool story.
Yes. Is it episode 1? I don't know.
I believe so.
I don't know. Anyway, the pool story, you can even just Google that. You can go Google pool. Just Google. You don't Google. You Google Brat Buster's pool story. That's a really hard word to keep saying. So just search Brat Buster's pool story. It'll come up. It's how I feel about parenting. It sums it all up. It wasn't even my kid. It was another kid I dealt with. So yeah, but you deal with bad behavior. So you bring out the best in them. You respect them enough to not put up with the crap. Respect and love your children enough to not let them be bad because they don't feel good when they're bad. If they feel good, they do good. If they feel bad, they do bad. It's your job to make them feel good about themselves. That's what the pool stories are all about. I turned the bad into the good, but I didn't ignore the bad. I dealt with it. Believe me, I dealt with it.
Okay, we have one final question. Nicole from New Zealand. My son is 5, but very bright and emotionally older than his age. I have 2 younger children also. I've been told that I'm too hard on my 5-year-old and expect too much from him. I do expect manners and no rough play, especially when we're out, and I'm not afraid to pull him out of a bouncy castle when he's play fighting with others. I also ask toys aren't thrown, etc. Is this being too hard on him? I do play the games he wants to play, probably not enough, but every day when he gets home without a doubt.
I don't understand your question. He's emotionally older, and yet he feels stressed. Okay, start about the second sentence in there.
I've been told I'm too hard on my 5-year-old.
Yeah, you're too hard on him because I expect him to be this. I expect him to be that. Yeah, you're too hard on him. I don't want to go into that too much, but yeah, I think you're too hard on him. He's emotionally older. Your expectation sounds like you're a little bit demanding of him, to be honest. Yeah, maybe your expectations are a little bit unfair and unreasonable. So check out my behavior board or my course on bratbusters.com and start there. He's just 5. He's just a kid. Don't set this poor kid up to be emotionally advanced, because then you're going to expect more from him. And that's not fair. My son was labeled gifted at 3. I never treated him like he was. I treated him like a normal kid with normal needs, because he was. By the way, when he got assessed as gifted, I didn't do that. This kindy brought in a team and they did that. Anyway, then they offered me some big scholarship. I turned it down. Of course, I hate stuff like that. Anyway, I took him to the mall. He was 3 years old. He was labeled as off the charts, gifted, right? I'm like, yeah, whatever. So anyway, I took him to the mall and he threw himself on the ground and had a tantrum. And I said, yeah, you're gifted, all right. Like, he's just a kid. He's 5 years old. My son was 3 years old. Don't put labels on them. My son was just a really good problem solver. It doesn't mean he was gifted as a human being. He just was a really good problem solver. He still is. But I didn't label him, and I didn't have these unbelievable expectations. I just wanted him to be happy, well-adjusted, and happy. Play, and I think she said she doesn't play with him enough too.
I do play the games he wants to play, probably not enough, but every day when he gets home, without a doubt.
I don't know what to say to that. I think your expectations are a little bit out of whack. He's just 5. He's just a kid. I don't know if he's emotionally advanced. Who cares if he is anyway? He still wants to run around the park with a frisbee in his hand and that. He still wants to just be a kid. So don't expect too much. Don't put pressure on him. Like, I certainly never did that with my son, ever. I was criticized for not doing that, actually. And I never took any of that advice. I'm glad I didn't. He's just a kid. Normal kid. So yeah, quit labeling your son. He's just 5. He wants to play. He wants to be goofy. Play is their love language. Not being emotionally advanced is not their love language. And I'm questioning that, by the way. I don't know what you mean by that. Okay. I am very much questioning that. You're putting too much pressure on a 5-year-old. It felt like a lecture.
It did a little.
Yeah, but I'm always the kid's voice. I'm thinking, this poor kid, you've got him labeled as emotionally gifted, sort of advanced, and then you expect too much from him, and you're not playing enough. He's just a little boy.
Yeah, you've discussed this before, because I know you just feel very passionate about the topic.
I do. Let them be kids, for God's sake. They just want to roll in the mud and have fun and giggle and, yeah, just get down on the ground and play with him. That's what he wants. It reminds me, when I said he's just a little boy, it reminds me of that movie Notting Hill with Julia Roberts, when she stood in front of Hugh Grant, and she goes, she was a famous actress in the movie too, and she goes, I'm still just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her. It reminded me of that.
That was a good line.
It was so cute. Anyway, so yeah, I think you're expecting too much. Don't label that poor kid. He's just a kid. He just wants to play and have fun. That's what he wants. Play is their love language. Okay. Was that it?
Yeah, and that wraps us up to the needs, because you talk about play being a need.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. That's why I connected with kids. I didn't have any leverage when I was working with kids. My leverage was I was fun. And I got real boring real fast if they acted up. I'd say, I'll tell you what, you just did that. So now I'm going to go quiet for 30 seconds. Sorry, Lisa. That's okay. 20 more seconds. That's all I had. I took away fun, Lisa. I used fun and play and humor as leverage. And they were embarrassed. They didn't want to, because they liked me. They liked themselves when they were with me is more important. Like, one of the nicest things anyone ever said to me was one of the teenagers I worked with said, I didn't like myself until I met you, Lisa. That was the nicest thing I think anyone's ever said to me. Wow. I know how to make kids like themselves. And that is your superpower as a parent. Okay, time to go. Thanks so much for that. We'll be back again soon, and happy parenting. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out bratbusters.com to learn more about the behavior board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. If you've enjoyed the show so far, we'd love it if you could take a moment to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more parents just like you. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit bratbusters.com/disclaimer.